Hello and welcome back to SQL 101. I'm Matt Tanner, and so far we've covered how to select, filter, sort, and group data in SQL. Today, we're going to have a look at the having clause. Now, the having clause is super helpful when you want to filter data after you've grouped it together. This might be in contrast to the where clause that we've shown you previously. So while the where clause is great for filtering rows, having is used to filter groups, making it a key tool when working with grouped or aggregated data. Just like the other videos in this series, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how and when to use the having clause to filter your data within SQL. Let's get started by looking at some practical examples.
So as I mentioned, the having clause actually is used to filter groups that have been created with the group by clause, which we've covered previously. So think of it similar to the where clause, but instead of filtering individual rows, it's going to filter based on those aggregate functions. The basic syntax to use having looks like this. And I'll put it in the editor here. So we have column 1, aggregate function here, column 2, table name, our group by clause, and then our having plus the condition. Unlike where, which filters rows before they're grouped, having filters the groups after the aggregation has been performed. So let's actually look at some examples of this in action so you can understand it a bit better. So for our first example, let's say we want to group employees by department and see how many employees each department has. But we only want to show the departments that have more than 2 employees. What would a query like that look like? It's going to look exactly like this here, where we have select department ID, then we have count star as employee count from employees, which is the employees table that we went through in the other tutorials previously. And we're going to group by department ID, and then having count star is greater than 2. So we want to have more than 2 entries from the employees table in here. Now, when we run this, we can see that only a single department has more than 2 employees. If I take this out, let's run this so we can see. Again, employee count, 1, 1, 1, and 3 here. So without having that having clause there, we would see all those departments. But as soon as that having clause is there, we then only get the ones that match this particular filter. Now, let's say we want to filter by average salary. For this, let's say that we want to group employees by department again, but this time we only want to show departments where the average salary is greater than $75,000. That query is going to look just like this. Again, we have our department ID because that's what we're going to group by. Then we have average salary, which is the column where the salary is stored in our table. And you can see here we're using an average function. So average salary as average salary, group by department ID. And then you can see that we're doing having average salary greater than $75,000. If we run this here, you can see that department 3 is the only one with an average salary above $75,000. And the average salary in that department is $85,000. Let's take away this having clause and run this again. And you can see that our query was working correctly. Department 1, average salary is 65. Department 3 is 85,000, which is the one that shows up because it meets that criteria. 4 and 2 have 72,000 and 70,000 respectively. Again, when we run that query, we get the result we expect. Now, what if we want to combine the having clause with multiple conditions? So just like the where clause, we can actually do this with the having clause as well. For example, let's say we want to find all departments where the average salary is greater than 75,000 and the total number of employees is greater than 2. Of course, we're going to get the same result, but just showing you exactly what this syntax would look like. That is going to look just like this. Here we have select department ID, average salary as average salary. Then we have count star as employee count, because every single row that is there is going to count as an employee. From the employees table, again, grouping by department ID. And then we're having average salary greater than 75,000 and count star is greater than 2. Let's run this query. And we once again see that department 3 comes back, which is the engineering department. And you can see that in our results here, it fits both criteria. Now, these are just simple examples. However, it does show that combining conditions in the having clause allows you to really be precise when you're filtering groups.
And that's how you can filter groups using the having clause. As you can see, it's a powerful tool when you need to filter aggregated data and go beyond simple row filtering. In our next video, we'll dive into more complex SQL functions that will build on what we've learned so far. As always, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next lesson in our SQL 101 video series. Thanks for watching and happy querying.